Alright, so KorbanDalas versus PashaDizel. And they're very lively. I assume that they can see each other because they're kind of reacting as if they can. I'm not sure. Anyway. Wait, what? Okay. So clearly PashaDizel is playing Concede Warrior. Oh, just kidding. His Warrior was banned. I wonder if there's a punishment for that. I remember back in the day, like if this weren't Conquest, well, actually this might, because back in the day when it was Last Hero Standing, the first pick was so important that if you made a mistake like that, you just lost the first game. Like you just lose a game for that because otherwise, then you can just counter pick your opponent or at least know what their kind of overall strategy. Conquest is not as important, but it kind of is. But it looks like they're not gonna just punish them that hard because this is a streamer tournament. Alright, so it's going to be the Paladin here for PashaDizel and the Warrior for KorbanDalas. And KorbanDalas does switch it up. So he didn't want to... It did play a part that, the mistake from PashaDizel, right? KorbanDalas didn't want to play the same exact deck and potentially get countered. So it goes with the Warrior here. And... looks like it's just N'Zoth Paladin here from PashaDizel. And this is actually a deck that's very popular in China at the moment. Or at least it was for the Gold Series Spring Championship that I cast this past week. It's actually a pretty solid deck. Like, even, there's so many other Paladin decks out there nowadays that mostly involve Murlocs, but it's actually not, like, the worst deck. I think that it's actually a tier 2 deck. I don't think people in the West would see that, but I believe so. So Dirty Rat here picks up for PashaDizel. It's actually a really big deal because you can deny their quest. And the quest is everything for the Warrior. They have to complete the quest. And pulls the opponent's Dirty Rat as well. So KorbanDalas gives the greetings, but that's really painful for him. It really is painful for him because he needed to have that Dirty Rat to complete his quest. And the longer it takes, the more advantageous it is for PashaDizel here.
Like a kinship with show.
Not sure what he's thinking. Sorry, I kind of just started looking at chat, looked back, the board state is exactly the same. Yeah, so there's nothing really to do here. I don't think you really need to do attack in. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. The Dirty Rat's picked up here on the side of KorbanDalas. He does want to play that in order to complete the quest, but not necessarily into a Paladin that, could just pull out Tyrion. So instead, gonna just go ahead and slam here. Probably doesn't want to use Execute or Sleep with the Fishes because those are really important cards later in the game. And yeah, like I mentioned, the longer it takes for KorbanDalas to put his quest up, the worse it is. Because, for instance, things like Brawl, if you're PashaDizel, you can just load the board and not really worry about Brawl. Because if your opponent brawls, it's actually a good thing because it means you get to load the board later and not have to worry about Brawl into Rackshot. Right? Because that's how KorbanDalas wins the game, is he starts isolating minions. So yeah, it's every extra turn that it takes KorbanDalas to finish the quest is a big win for PashaDizel. Spiker Seed coming up here for PashaDizel. It's an amazing card, particularly when you're pretty certain your opponent isn't running any silence. Gonna go ahead and make this Infested Tauren big guy. Put them out in the field. There is an Execute in the hand of KorbanDalas, but that does slow down his turn. Right, he doesn't want to I mean, he could play Dirty Rat and execute. I guess now he's picked up the Acolyte, he gets to do that as well. But maybe he wants to save the Acolyte for the Ravaging goal. So, yeah, this is really annoying to say the least, this Infested Tort. And not only that, right, he may not even want to use the execute on this because he wants to save it for Tyrion or Rag or what have you. So, yeah. That's a power of Spikeridge Seed, right? Just amazing card in anti-aggro matchups because you just put 2 taunts in the front. And against control matchups, you make a massive minion that they have to, use their premium removal on, and then you follow that up with things like Tyrion and Rag that they feel set that they don't have options to kill. Alright, so moving along, PashaDizel doesn't have any removal in hand, and he could play the Ivory Knight right now, especially because it might not get that much value out of the heal later on the game. Especially if you want the hand for PashaDizel is, there's a few minions you want to play after the rag shots hit your face, and those are the 3 minions on the right side. So you might as well just play one of them now. The other option was to play at least, but you can play at least plus hero power next turn. So eventually you're probably going to want to play this this Ivory Knight. Gets Blessing of Wisdom, probably the best option there. Just wants to have more stuff to put in the board, right? Just wants to continuously fill the board and eventually overwhelm the opponent. Because the more times you can refill the board, or if you can just keep on refilling the board, then the warrior is going to run out of ways to deal with your board via things like Brawl, via things like Primordial Drake plus Sleep with the Fishes. So the more times you can just draw cards and get more stuff to just, puke onto the board, the better you're going to be off here. KorbanDalas has the Fiery War Axe to allow him to draw off of the Silverhand Recruit here. Gonna go ahead and also use the Ravaging Ghoul. So it gets a lot of cards to the same. That is super important here for KorbanDalas. Needs to draw as much as possible and gets the double Stonehill Defender in his hand. He had the Curator as well. So now he's 100% guaranteed to finish the quest in the next few turns. I mean, he doesn't have to draw anything off the top. He has everything he needs in his hand right now to complete the quest. So that's good for KorbanDalas. Let's put a clock on PashaDizel as well. And we'll see how he handles this. Probably going to be that at least plus hero power, I would imagine. He could Blessing of Wisdom right now, but doesn't really need to. Maybe he does need to, actually. Because if you think about it, you want to play Wicker Flame after the quest, because that's annoying for KorbanDalas to deal with. You also want to play the Ivory Knight after you've gotten smacked with a Rag Shot or, other sort of damage. And the rest of the cards in his hand can't be played. So I actually wouldn't be surprised to see him use the Blessing of Wisdom right now. And yeah, gonna go ahead and do it. And in fact, he's gonna go for a super slow turn here. And just play the Doomsayer. This certainly makes a bit of sense, right? He just doesn't... If he plays the Elise, then perhaps his opponent just takes board control next turn, but... Gonna go ahead and play this Doomsayer now. Gives reasonable value here to KorbanDalas. He's gonna use the rest of his turn to play the Stonehill Defenders as well. But yeah, this is really nice for KorbanDalas. Sorry, pretty well played here. He gets value off the Acolyte, gets to draw off of that. Part of the reason why PashaDizel didn't hero power is because he didn't want the Acolyte to gain that value. And so now KorbanDalas gets to set up for his quest while drawing from the Acolyte. And yeah, that was just really well done by him. So up next comes Elise Trailblazer plus Wicker Flame Burn Bristle, just to make things annoying for KorbanDalas. But whereas I thought PashaDizel was in a very good spot early on in the game, I think it's starting to flip here. KorbanDalas has really flipped things around with his last few turns. Now able to finish the quest and start firing off those rag shots. And N'Zoth the Corruptor just isn't... He hasn't played as many taunts as he would have liked here. For PashaDizel, so not going to be the greatest. So PashaDizel is just going to continue to commit stuff to the board. This is pretty annoying for KorbanDalas, but he's at a pretty nice life total and has lots of fat taunts to put in the way. There's a quality in the hand of PashaDizel and Aldor, but this is such a strange state of the game. You almost never see the situation where the warrior has a ton of cards and the paladin doesn't. This is just something you really don't see. I'm gonna go ahead and use Sleep with the Fishes just to clear off the Elise. Make things a bit harder here for PashaDizel. Just going for that tempo play. And I believe KorbanDalas is at 6 out of 7, something like that. It's pretty close. He played 3 taunts when the Doomsayer came out. Or sorry, he did play 3 taunts when the Doomsayer came out. So, he's very close to that quest. He's played taunt this turn as well. But yeah, this is just very frustrating for PashaDizel. Picks up a very nice card though, for his sake. Gonna commit the equality right now. I'm not sure this is very necessary. I think I would just like to see the Tyrion swing the True Silver and make a hero power. I think he's gonna go equality Tyrion. I'm not sure he needed equality there. Because he's going to need equality later on. There are a lot of cards in Korban's head. Alright, so KorbanDalas can go for the corner Tentry here, which will give him, a nice excuse to go ahead and play a whirlwind effect, since he wants a whirlwind effect off the Tyrion anyway. And now it has a 50-50 to land the reaction on the Tyrion. This is pretty big. Really wants to get this kill off, and does so. And I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to that Sulfurous. That Ngoro pack is pretty huge, but we might just see an Azoth right now. Azoth brings back Infested Torrent and Tyrion, I believe, but we're gonna open a pack right now. Going packing. Spear Singer Umbra, probably not going to be able to use that with the Tyrion. I suppose that's not how that works, is it? Actually, summon a minion. Oh, this is interesting. Oh yeah, so Spear Singer, you can use it with the Azoth, but unlikely it's going to be there in the... Yeah, so it's not play minion, it's summon a minion. So, yeah, Spear Singer Umbra does work with Azoth, but unlikely that Umbra will live once it's played out into the field. The Steam Surger can work after you play the Tar Lord. Living Mana is a thing as well if you want to just get a bunch of treants out there. No real way to manipulate that if you are the warrior here. So it looks like we're just going to play the Tar Lord. Go ahead and take out this corner Tentry. Buff up the Steam Surger the following turn potentially. And Tortolan Primal is also a thing. So it's going to go ahead and fire off the Rag Shot. Doesn't want to waste it. That's why he swung first, because if he's used the Rag Shot, I guess he could have done the Rag Shot first and just swung afterward. And if it missed, he just swings and executes. I guess the order doesn't really matter a whole lot. But gonna commit a lot to the board, and the problem here for PashaDizel is that he doesn't have a way. He doesn't have the equality that he got rid of earlier. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't even think about this. The Spirit Singer Umbra plus the Living Mana. So he gets all of the mana back. He gets to use the mana while having the treants on board. Didn't really think about that one. That's pretty interesting. So whether KorbanDalas clears this or not, PashaDizel will have the mana. Don't think it matters because he probably wanted to clear it anyway. By the way, KorbanDalas did pick up Deathwing a couple turns ago. To help himself out. He does need to kill that Spirit Singer Umbra. That has to happen. I'm curious as to why. Is he just whirlwinding just to get the damage? Can't really see any other reason. So he can go 13, 17. And misses the Rag Shot. He could have just done that first, actually. I'm gonna go ahead and take out the Piercing Umbra because it's pretty necessary. Play the Direhard Matriarch just to get a big fat taunt in the way. And say go. Still no equality on the side of PashaDizel would be very nice. Oh my god, picks up the equality off the top. Wow. Wow, that is huge. That is probably game winning. Well, it's certainly... It put him from being pretty far behind and nearly dead to probably favored now. That equality pickup was huge. Anyway, well, Brawl is picked up here, which means we have 50-50 lethal. That is another huge top deck here for KorbanDalas. So 50-50 lethal time. If this goes face, Korban wins the game. It does not, which means PashaDizel can now play N'Zoth. And I think PashaDizel probably wins this game now. What a turn of events. Equality off the top for PashaDizel. Brawl off the top, unable to get the win. And, well, there is a Deathwing, but Deathwing, you don't get to fire the rack shot, and you're still leaving behind... Oh, the Tyrion doesn't come out. Okay, this is actually a really big deal. So, Deathwing could come out, and a couple of 2/2s are remaining, but you can just Aldor the Deathwing, and you can Spiker Seed as well. And you can just Aldor and Forbidden Healing as well. So... I still think PashaDizel probably wins at this point. He could Aldor Spikeridge Steed. Yeah, he could Aldor Spikeridge Steed. And there's no way for KorbanDalas to win the game. Because even if the rag hits face, he can't swing to the face because there's a taunt in the way. So yeah, Aldor Spikeridge Steed is just pretty much game over. He doesn't really need to heal here. It might be tempting to heal, but he doesn't need to heal. If you're PashaDizel, if you just Spiker Seed here, you just win the game. Because even if there's like some sort of weird brawl, then the taunt comes back anyway, right? So, yeah, it's impossible for KorbanDalas to win even with a brawl. I suppose he can slam, execute. Like, I don't know the sequence of cards that could possibly win the game here for KorbanDalas. And yeah, that's gonna be it. What a game. KorbanDalas gives a little sly, like a wry smile. PashaDizel was pretty happy about that. That was a very interesting game. As we have the Quest Rogue on the side of KorbanDalas. It's playing Swashbuckler. It's not a card that's always played these days, but certainly isn't guaranteed that, you know, that's the best or worst way to go about it. And on the side of KorbanDalas, as you can see from his hand, going to be going with the aggro token druid. Not sure. How would you go about describing this? Aggro token board flood. Anyway, PashaDizel are going to go ahead and start picking out this board one by one. Next turn is almost certainly going to be Swashbuckler into the Youthful Brewmaster. And he's already 3 cards to his quest being completed. As for KorbanDalas, though, no Innervate and no buff on his minions quite yet. And wow! What a draw here for PashaDizel. He's able to backstab that Raven, the Enchanted Raven, so that it can't be buffed by the Mark of Yashiraj. And on top of that, the Ravisor Runt won't be able to be played next turn with the buff, with the Adapt. So this is absolutely huge here, getting that backstab, and I would imagine he goes ahead and uses it. And you can see on the faces of the two players which one is winning at this point, or which one's feeling good about themselves. KorbanDalas is thinking, really? Another backstab? And for PashaDizel, he's just kind of rocking out. Well, KorbanDalas with not a whole lot of options other than to play a very, very sad Ravis or Runt. Probably just has to go ahead and do it because you're losing a lot of value that way. But oh no, just gonna go ahead and clear this off. And PashaDizel's certainly happy to see that, as he now gets to play a Fandral on an open board, which typically lords over most of the things in the deck of KorbanDalas, but instead picks up the Gadsden Ferryman, and now he can go Swashbuckler, Gadsden Ferryman, Swashbuckler, Shadow Step, and then play the Shadow Step Swashbuckler next turn for 0 mana, complete the quest, and get a 5/5. So he's basically paying 5 mana, 5/5, get the Discover off of it. This is absolutely huge. Even gets a taunt for his troubles. This is absolutely nutty. And I believe this game is over. I believe that this game is over, folks. By the way, KorbanDalas knows it too. He knows that the quest is coming out soon, but he just has to play a 5/3 stealth just to see if he can't weather the storm for a bit. Even picks up some Fireflies for his name. Feels bad that the Ironbark Protector is an 8 mana 5/5 taunt. No. Because I don't know. By the way, I don't know what PashaDizel's thinking. You just do it. I guess he's too busy rocking out. But yeah, here we go. Picks up Mark Yashiraj, which he can play with the Power of the Wild next turn. Next turn he can go for Fandral Power of the Wild, which makes all of his minions bigger into 6/6s, as well as make another 6/6 on his side. I think that's how that works. Fandral would be a 5/5, and he gets the 6/6 out of the Power of the Wild. Or he could just go Power of the Wild, Mark Yashiraj that guy, play a couple of 5/5s from the Firefly and the Flame Elemental. It's pretty nutty. It's pretty nutty, I gotta say. Alright, so KorbanDalas is setting up for some sort of charge play where he kills PashaDizel as quickly as possible. Poison goes onto the Ravasaur Runt. I'm not sure that PashaDizel really cares too much. He still has to clear that off. Yes, Ironbark Protector is an 8 mana 5/5 taunt. He still has to clear that off, speaking of PashaDizel, because he doesn't want to die. It's still cleanup time for PashaDizel, right? He doesn't have lethal quite yet, so he needs to continue to clean up. Unless he can reliably rule out dying, which I don't think he can, because double Savage Roar on the following turn would be 16 damage just from the Savage Roars alone if PashaDizel leaves these minions up. So 16 damage plus the 10 on board would be 26. I suppose it would be lethal, but he could go double Savage Roar plus Innervate Power of the Wild. So yeah, I think he does have to start clearing at least some of this up. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Just clear off the... No, just clear up nothing. Okay, he actually is dead to a 3-card... a 4-card combo. And that's one of the cards. But, wait a second. Cheer the Claw charge and do Innervate into Savage Roar. Is that lethal? Hold on. I can't count that fast. 10 plus the 11 is 21. And then 24. He's 4 damage off lethal? That was surprisingly close. That was actually surprisingly close. It seems like PashaDizel could have played that around that a little bit, since he was going to have lethal the following turn anyway. And if he didn't have lethal, it's because KorbanDalas traded everything in, and so you would have been way far ahead anyway. By the way, interesting interaction. The Panther turns into a 5/5. It doesn't turn into a 6/6. Which is weird because when you play Fandral plus Panther, it's a 4/3. Normally, right? Normally the Panther's a 4/3. But in this case it's a 5/5. Seems a bit strange. I don't know why he didn't attack last turn with the 7/5. He wanted to set up for more damage with the roar. Because if he attacks, he loses 2 damage from the war. Because it just gets traded off anyway. Alright, going to the next matchup. It is going to be... I don't know, Druid against some sort of Paladin. It could be N'Zoth Paladin, it could be mid-range Morlock Paladin. We're not sure yet. Looks like it is mid-range Morlock Paladin. So, Ramp Druid. I guess the Jade Blossom is there just for the ramp. Has nothing to do with the Jades being in the deck. The reason why I said I didn't know about the Druid is because I've seen players play a hybrid ramp Jade Druid deck before in the past. So I wasn't 100% sure, but it looks like it's just straight up ramp. Alright, well, KorbanDalas going to do his best to try to put the pressure on, but PashaDizel has double ramped at this point, and as long as he picks up a 7 and an 8 drop, he should be fine. Well, not fine, but he's doing okay. He's doing okay. And there's a 7 drop, which probably picks up more stuff for him to do. Let's see what he gets off of this. Just gets a simple 4/4, not the best here. If you're PashaDizel, but no choose over in the hand. That said, there is this Morlock War Leader, which will be able to clear this up quite nicely and start pushing damage to face. So this is very scary if you're PashaDizel, even though you double ramped here. Curator coming out and picks up the Giant Anaconda, picks up a Primordial Drake, which could help in cleaning up these Murlocs if some of them, depending on the trades coming up here. Primal Fen Lookout coming out for KorbanDalas. See what he can't pick up. Probably another Primal Fen Lookout. And maybe just play it this turn. But yeah, look, things looking pretty reasonable for KorbanDalas here, especially because he has the Sunkeeper Tarim in hand, which is a huge deal. And it looks like he's going to go for it before his board potentially gets cleared. Alright, so KorbanDalas needs to kill off this Curator. I imagine he does, because he ends up getting an extra 7 damage to face, right? So, seems like there's not a whole lot of reason to hold back your attacks. If he does hold it back, the Curator can go into the War Leader, and then the Primordial Drake clears off the rest of the minions. But as it stands, this is very annoying if you're PashaDizel. If he had Innervate plus his Wrath, it would be really nice, but as it stands, has to kind of pick and choose what he does with this. The problem is, I believe that's a getaway Kodo up, which means that the PashaDizel Rast that War Leader, he's just taking mostly the same damage the following turn. And doesn't have the healing, obviously, from the Moonglade Portal anymore. So PashaDizel's in a really poor spot right now. And looks like he's going for the ramp so he can get to Deathwing. But that's going to be the getaway Kodo, which means more hurt, more pain coming up here for PashaDizel. KorbanDalas gives a little smirk. He's like, yep, got you this time. And yeah, I don't think KorbanDalas has lethal here. 5, 10, 14. No, but gets the getaway Kodo again, which is nice. Okay, gonna play Jangled Megasaur. This could be lethal. Wind Fury is nice, so let's see. So 6, 12, and then so he's at 16. 6, 12. Can't do math. Plus 4 is 16. I think it was exact lethal. Anyway. Math is hard, but we got there. KorbanDalas puts the series at 1-2 now. Still has to win with his Taunt Warrior and his Aggro Druid. Continuing to go off against the Ramp Druid here from PashaDizel, not the Rogue. Alada versus Arthas has not been played yet, guys. Don't be fooled. He'll have that game after this, I believe. Alright. Well, one side has Innervate and the other doesn't. And the side that has Innervate is the Ramp Druid, not the Aggro Druid. KorbanDalas really wants to pick up the Innervate so he can start playing out crazy stuff like the Bitter Hydra in hand. Looks like this isn't quite Aggro Druid, it's more like Beast Druid. Okay, so my assessment of that was a little bit off. It looks like it's Beast Druid rather than just straight up Aggro Druid. And KorbanDalas able to pick up that Mark of Yasharaj, which is a pretty big deal. Gonna follow that up with either the Bitter Hydra or the Stranglethorn Tiger. Might want to go with the Stranglethorn Tiger just to get the guaranteed value out. This looks like it's a pretty big blowout for KorbanDalas. This looks like this game is almost certainly over. And I feel like the only way that PashaDizel can win is probably Deathwing. But this is pretty nuts here. Oh, excuse me, I messed up. He didn't. KorbanDalas wasn't on 5 mana quite yet, so that File Teacher off the top was really important for him. Caster needs a friend. Not enough money for 2 casters, unfortunately. That's what happens. Alright, so going to be coin, or excuse me, we'll swipe into coin hero power. PashaDizel figure he probably needs to do that at some point anyway, so might as well do it now. There's also the obvious threat of Mark of the Lotus and Power of the Wild. So like I mentioned, going to be either the Stranglethorn Tiger or the Bitter Hydra. PashaDizel, excuse me, KorbanDalas just goes for the biggest minion possible, having already seen a swipe. And this is very problematic if you are PashaDizel right now. He can go for the Moonglade Portal, but not sure how much that helps. He can go for Nourish and then play the Anaconda the following turn, but that doesn't really help him all that much. Gets a Kidnapper, which is a very poor result. And Savagor in hand. Just going to go with the Menagerie Warden. Get yet another Bitter Hydra on the field. PashaDizel mouths out, yep. As this game seems like it's pretty much over. PashaDizel can Wrath one of these away to kill it off. I think PashaDizel probably, yeah, I would like to see a Wrath onto the Bitter Hydra, and then throw your Kidnapper in, and then innervate the Giant Anaconda. And if you're not dead, perhaps you can pick up something off the top. But none of this is very useful. His card draw hasn't helped him out in the slightest. And that's going to be game over to KorbanDalas with the Savagor and the Mark of the Lotus in hand. No way for PashaDizel to protect himself. I don't think there's anything off Barnes that can help him because the battle cries don't go off. So yeah, we're going to go to game 5. PashaDizel just going to give it up right here. Quick game number 4. And now we're going to the game 5 between the Ramp Druid and the Taunt Warrior. And it's been quite a while since we've seen this particular matchup. Obviously, Taunt Warrior has just been a thing for a long time, but people are playing less and less of that deck as they're experimenting with others, particularly the more aggressive Paladin. And I'm curious to see how this particular matchup plays out, because it feels like Ramp Druid can ramp into its large threats before or around the same pace as the amount of time it takes for the Taunt Warrior to complete his quest. So if the Ramp Druid has ramped up enough and has large enough minions that don't die to the rag shots, then the Taunt Warrior will have a hard time dealing with that. But at the same time, it does have ways to deal with the larger minions like the Brawl. It's also incumbent on PashaDizel to make sure that, you know, he doesn't overcommit to things like Brawl. And even something like playing a Deathwing Dragonlord is kind of overcommitting to Brawl in some sense. But all that aside, all overarching strategy aside, we're going to see the Barnes come out. Let's see what he can pick up right now. Gets a Giant Anaconda, which won't pull anything from his hand. By the way, we are streaming off of Sined's stream, so if Twitch misbehaves, then we get this nonsense Apologies for that, guys. I guess I have to sit here and wait. Oh, okay, we're back. I think. Hopefully. 1 second, guys. I got to refresh this stream. Okay, so what did we miss? What came off of the Barnes? Oh my goodness. Twitch, please. Twitch, please. Okay. Hopefully we're not. Hopefully we're okay. Alright, we're gonna have to go to lower quality, guys. I'm sorry. Alright, so last turn was spent nursing here for PashaDizel. And it kind of came out of Barnes, but he had no minion at the time. So yeah, right. I remember now. I just had a bad memory. So there's actually a 3-mana Owl in this deck, interestingly enough. PashaDizel is going to go ahead and take out the Stonehill Defender, summon a 6-mana minion, and gets a Temple Enforcer, which is nice for his sake. KorbanDalas is only 5 mana. Gonna go ahead and play this Ally Armorsmith just to hold on for a little bit more. And this is the issue that the Taunt Warrior can run into, right? Because your minions just don't have enough attack power to deal with the minions inside of, or even just like mid-range minions, right? From a lot of decks, and in particular, getting punished right now by PashaDizel. Gonna go ahead and heal up his minions. He's kind of playing the brawl a little bit. Perhaps he is purposely doing so that KorbanDalas uses the brawl now. It doesn't have brawl for the large minions later. But KorbanDalas not going to fall for it, saying, you know what, you don't really have damage to kill me. As long as I keep putting taunts in the way, I'm not going to die. Going to go ahead for Rocket Carapace on his Ornery Direhorn. 5/8 taunt in the way. And PashaDizel is going to go ahead and owl that guy, get some damage to the face. This does play in a brawl a little bit because now the owl can win. And let's see, I think that's Sleep with the Fishes. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and brawl this, see what he can't pick up. It's perfectly fine with a 4/5 living, so it doesn't attack in first. And wins the brawl, able to smack the face, and PashaDizel is not very happy about that one, to be sure. I'm going to go ahead and coin on Acolyte of Pain, looks like, as well. So, in response, here comes Deathwing Dragonlord. If that guy dies, then out comes Ysera and the Primordial Drake. So PashaDizel just going to sit back and say, deal with that one, buddy. And not really a way to deal with it. He can slam it and hope for the best. He can slam it and still play the Ally Armorsmith behind it. And it's very hard for PashaDizel to get around 7 health of stuff. And so, yeah, PashaDizel's not even going to play the Primordial Drake. Going to save that 5 AoE for the future. He can Primordial Drake and Sleep with the Fishes in the future. And like I mentioned, PashaDizel can't get through this Ally Armorsmith without attacking his Deathwing Dragonlord into it. So KorbanDalas is playing this pretty smart. He's saying, you know what, no hurry. I don't need a Hail Mary for, you know, an execute off the top here. Even if I do, you probably have a bunch of dragons, so it's gonna go ahead and play it slow. PashaDizel does pick up a Nightmare though, so this is pretty huge for him. Going to be able to potentially finish off the game with that. And Desperation coming out here from KorbanDalas. I think he might have been better off slamming his own Acolyte. Though I suppose KorbanDalas can now go double sleep with the fishes, get him down to 4. Um, but yeah, I think I would have liked to see this land on his own Acolyte, just so he draws 2 cards off of the Acolyte. Curious what KorbanDalas' actual plan here is, because he can do the second sleep with the fishes and clear off either Ysera or the Deathwind Dragonlord, or he can just play the Alley Armorsmith. But he might be dead regardless. I think he is guaranteed dead now that he's done it this way. He's gonna kill the Ysera, which means there's 12 damage remaining on the field. There is 10, 11 in hand. So 11 plus 12 is 23. And that means that PashaDizel is going to take this series in the end. KorbanDalas is not too happy about the fact that there is a Nightmare. But, them's the breaks. You gotta be cognizant of either Ysera's Awakens or Nightmare. It is a 2 and 5, not too unlikely to happen. PashaDizel resumes rocking out, and he is going to move on to the semifinals. That means KorbanDalas is eliminated, and PashaDizel will face the winner of Dr. Hippie and Nyman. So, a difficult battle coming up for him in the next round to be certain, no matter who wins.